Now today we will see how can we change the base of logarithms. Logarithms can have many type of bases, but it's easier when we can just rewrite it as base 10. So now, why do we want to write it in base 10? Because our calculator can only compute logarithms whenever it's in base 10. So if you have a logarithm that is not in base 10, we're going to use the following formula to write it in base 10, and then we can use the calculator to find its numerical value. So the main idea here is that we change base of logarithms so we can evaluate the expression using the calculator because the calculator can only use base 10. Now here's the formula. The change of base formula, it's basically saying, well, if you have a logarithm, base A, and you're taking, and B is the one that has been taking the log, then that's the same as just log of the top divided by log of the base. Now, let's do some examples because I feel like this idea is best represented when we can do some examples. So let's look at the first example here. Now notice that we want to find out what this value is, but we cannot use the calculator yet because the base here is 3. So if we want to evaluate or we want to find the numerical representation of this, then we got to use the change of base. And what the change of base is, the log of the top divided by the log of the base. So here, this expression, log base 3 of 3.3, this is the same as log of the top, which is 3.3, divided by log of the base, which is just 3. And that's it. Now, they have the same base, which is base 10. So now that it's in base 10, then we can use our calculator now. Now we have log of 3 divided by log of 3, which is equal to just 1.08. Well, it's 1.09. And that's it. This is just, we're just changing to base 10 because once we have it into base 10, then we can use the calculator. So let's look at the second example here. Again, this is base 2, so we cannot use the calculator. We need to convert it into base 10. So how do we do that? Well, we can use the change of base formula, which is going to be log of the top, which is 30. So we're going to have log of 30 divided by log of the base, which is going to be log of 2. Once we have this, then we can use our calculator. So you're just crunching your numbers, and that's pretty much it. Log of 2. So now this becomes, 4.91. I always like to round to the nearest 100. So now lastly, let's look at the third example here. Again, this is base 4, so we cannot use the calculator to find the numerical representation of it. So what we got to do is change the base. So now this is the same as just log of the top, which is 5. So log of 5 divided by log of base, which is 4. Once we have this, they're base 10. So now that it's in base 10, then we can just crunch your numbers. Log of 5 divided by log of 4. Now this is equal to 1.16. And that's pretty much it. Like, this is how you use the change of base formula for logarithms. Now, before we end the video, I want to make an important distinction here. Now, when we write log, this is the same as if I would write log of 10. Every time you just see log, you're going to assume that it has a base 10. Like in this case, notice that when I started the video here, I had to write the 10 there because if you just see a log, you're just going to assume that there's a 10 there. If you see a log, you're going to assume that the base is 10. So that's why in example 2 and example 3, I didn't even wrote the 10 there because you will assume that if I just write log, then that is base 10. So this is pretty important here. If it doesn't have a base, then you're going to assume it's 10. Now another thing, which is when we write ln or the natural logarithm, which we saw in the previous video, we are going to assume that it has a base e. So this is pretty important. If you see a log, you will assume that it has base 10. And if you see an ln or natural logarithm, you're going to assume that it has base 3. This is not part of the lesson for today, but I just wanted to make that distinction right now. So here's your entrance ticket. Just evaluate the following.